I've grown up being conscientious of these kinds of issues and seeing more and more evidence of the consequences of our lifestyle, especially here in the West, and just our patterns of consumption. And I think I had the good fortune as a small child to kind of bump into a lot of different things that gave me a vision for what care for the climate could mean. So I spent a lot of time in libraries as a little kid. And so I was just always reading books about nature. And I don't know, there's just something that struck me really early on about like the tragedy of losing certain species. I would say I've always had a bug for it. And now that I'm in some position to say potentially have a voice or to help other people find their voices, it just feels kind of urgent. And so that's why I've been excited to engage this opportunity. As sort of signposts of God's image, I take our relationship to the world to be pretty similar to God's relationship to creation, in that though we lack God's power and his vision and his understanding, the things that he has made, we stand in a position of power toward. And I just take it to be the case that because God saw it fitting to have such a diversity of things and to set up the world so that it has natural cycles of life and decay and things return and have their order, that for us to upset that sort of mistakes our position. It's very easy for us to overextend that relationship and begin to treat creation in ways that break the pattern of care and like love that we are supposed to have for things around us. Spending time in and among the things that you intend to care about more. So it can be really abstract to think about the environment and like carbon and all of that, but like taking walks in your area, like seeing who is where, what sorts of natural resources are still alive in your community, where the gardens are, like so on and so forth, and getting sort of hands-on awareness of the nature that is still alive near you can give you like this entry point into the imagination for why this matters. Thinking through this carefully and picking specific actions that show care for the environment. I mean, like this could be anything from like thinking through like the building envelope, like how heat is in the building, and thinking of that as a way of like modeling or showing the larger community what is possible. It could be, you know, like participating in plantings. It could be networking and, you know, finding solutions with local advocacy bodies. Especially in disadvantaged communities. This is a way of like taking up the climate as a way of caring for the least of these and making heard the voices that are often downtrodden. And I just take that to be so central to Christian witness that anywhere such an opportunity is available, to leave it to the side actually harms our testimony. And it diminishes the witness that Christians could have. The Mad Farmer poems by Wendell Berry were really an eye-opener for me. Just a totally different way of thinking about nature and being. I also just generally recommend Philosophy Comes to Dinner. This is a good one. This is just a collection of essays of like thinking through, you know, who we are and how what we eat demonstrates parts of who we are. It can be a really helpful resource for just kind of waking your imagination up to this very everyday thing that still contains so much of who we are culturally and spiritually and so on. Our finite, like small actions matter a great deal, and they matter to us individually and in a spiritual sense, even if they don't amount to very much on the scale, right? But there's this other part, which is institutional solutions and technological ones, which happen spontaneously, like sort of out of nowhere. They can have these dramatic effects. And when I look around at the pace that the technology is progressing right now, I have this excitement about what the world could be and how like finding and highlighting various solutions to, you know, issues like carbon capture or energy or even just like the food web and how we acquire the things that we need in order to sustain such large cities. I think we're on the cusp of like some really remarkable things. And I think we're approaching that point where like the urgency and the skill level are starting to like align. And I'm excited about that.